Thomas Paine wrote in Common Sense that all power of government is derived from the will of the people. And people don't realize that. You hear, I got people who write me all the time when I'm a little bit more articulate on my other page, on another carrier, that where I can be a little bit more direct. That why I made a video about that 60 to 73% of all possible voters don't vote. But whether you're left or right, you bitch. And I get people going by, why should I vote? It ain't good. Well, there's the thing is, it's been so long since the politicians have given a fuck about that 60 or 70% that it's all become identity politics. Why do you think it is what it is now? In the last 6 presidential elections, I think the highest was probably Clinton, or it might have been Bush 2004. Maybe 32 million Americans voted nationwide. In a country of 366 million people. So you're looking at a possible voter base of well over 150 million. And 30 split between both parties, you're looking at 15 to 17 million people per party. That's only the population of New York, New Jersey, and California put together. That's not, people don't want to hear this. When people go, why should I bother to vote? It ain't going to change anything. That's the whole point. They know you're not going to vote, so they pick and they cherry pick and they cultivate like a gardener. The left, the gay, the queer, the immigrant, the single mother, the black, the social progressive elite. What is the right pick? The blue collar worker, the forgotten white middle and lower class, the rural world, the actual people who, the taxpayer, the literal people who actually pay taxes, the individualist, the self-employed, the constructionist, the constitutionalist, the religious. If you actually take that spectrum and go left, far right, whatever, in the middle, the majority of people, if you ask your friends, ask your family, ask whoever, did you vote? How many times in the last, if you're 50 years old, how many presidential elections actually have you voted in? How many governor elections have you actually voted in? How many senator or congressman elections have you actually voted in? And you will be mind melted about how many, we'll say 0. But if you sat around and wait till that goes by for a while, give it a day, give it a 2, you will hear those 0 votes bitch about the gay agenda, bitch about the pro-life agenda, bitch about the pro-gun agenda, bitch about the high tax agenda, bitch about the welfare agenda. It doesn't matter. They will complain and we don't have enough, we have too little. We have too many, we have too short. There's not enough, there's too many, too much. But that 60% that does nothing could be the game changer. Now, it wasn't always like this. One of the reasons why you see now that political, you're going, oh my God, it's so close now. It's always within a margin or 2 or 3 of error, one way or the other. Because the lines in those voting blocks are so absolutely guaranteed. They are absolutely, there is no that center independent vote, the middle ground, trying to get that non-committed voter. There's no such thing as a non-committed voter anymore. The non-committed voter is the no voter. The one that doesn't vote for anything, anyone. They want to fucking sit down, watch their Netflix, watch their NBA, do their puppy fucking YouTube videos, play their Xboxes, whatever. They cannot be bothered. Or you have the ones, it means nothing. There's no reason to get involved. There's no reason to do anything. What's it matter? It's for, it's all a sham. If you think about that, you're looking at 66% or better of the population of the country thinking it's a sham. That 66% could absolutely blow away one side or the other. They could be literally controlling it. They could be the man, the power, the elite. Because they would control absolutely every aspect of the political system. And that's the way it was. When I was a kid, we had a rule. Don't talk about sex, don't talk about politics, and don't talk about religion. When I first started in business, I can remember I went for a job interview when I was in high school. The first real, I worked off the books, unloading on the docks, unloading trucks, at fruit markets in New York City. I worked working with my father, doing jobs on the side, hustling, whatever I had to do as a kid. But my first job where I actually got a paycheck, I told my father, I said, Dad, I got an interview tomorrow. Well, you need a dress, so I got one of his old dress shirts and a black pair of pants that he hadn't worn since probably 1966, and his tie. Thank God it came back into style. In the 60s, he had these real thin ties. In the 80s, he had real thin ties. He came back, thank God for that. And I went down, and he told me, when you go down to that interview, I want you to remember something, even when you go to work. What's that? You don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics, and you don't talk about sex. It's nobody's business. They don't want to hear yours, and you don't want to hear theirs. And that's the way it was for my first 20 years working in business, collecting a paycheck, working in construction as a laborer and an ironworker, and then going into the military, then being in corrections and a police officer. That's the way it was. You didn't talk about gay pride. I can remember working for Jews. They used to say, give everybody Christmas cards. Because it was just the cultural thing to do. No one thought about it. Nobody cared. It was just being polite. Everybody knew the fags, the limp wrists. Everybody knew the lesbians, the way they dressed, the way they acted, their husky voices. Everybody knew. Nobody said anything. Nobody cared. Same thing with racism. Was there different back? Yes, there was. New York City was one of the most segregated cities in the country, and it still is. There's certain points as a white man you just don't go into. Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights. You're a white guy walking through there at night, you're either an idiot or a cop. There were places you just said, you come here to do business, do job, fine. You come here to fuck around, we'll make sure you don't again. And that's the way it was everywhere. Every fucking place you went. By religion, by race, by whatever. It was like, hey, there's an understanding here. We're all cool when we work together. We're all cool when we do the job. We're all cool when we go to school. I don't fuck with you, you don't mess with me. But that all disappeared when less and less and less people started voting, and it started in the 70s. When the mass media and when the political parties started pointing out the differences and be them, their platforms. It wasn't about unity. It was about them over there, us over here. And that started right after Watergate. The left went hardcore left. Feminism, second wave, third wave, fourth wave. Affirmative action. They just went stupid left. The right, by the 1980s, had a reaction. The silent majority. The Christian majority. The people who believe in the rule constitution of law. All this stuff, they were a response to them. But the middle was like, we're not getting involved in this. This is not our fight. Neither side is our fight. And that side grew. 30, 50, 60, 70% of the people didn't want to vote anymore. They didn't give a crap about either side. They wanted to just go hide. Now let me tell you something. People go, it's the man. Hitler did not turn the cranks in the gas chambers. A man did. An average Joe just like you. Stalin didn't go and actually shoot people on the walls of the gulags individually. It was a group of men just like you. The will of the people, the mind, the power is not a power, it's intent. What is the intent? The idea, the ideology, the philosophy. But it takes the marrow, the muscle, the blood, the heart that actually causes the things to move. They're the ones that protest. They're the ones that counter-protest. They're the ones that try to commit assassinations. They're the ones that commit abortions. They're the ones that allow BLM and Antifa to do what they do. They're the ones in BLM and Antifa that do what they do. Where is the true power to move anything? You got to understand, it's Newton's second law of physics. For every action is opposite reaction, but there has to be an initial energy, inertia. Something has to move. What makes it move is the will. What moves it, though, is actually the physical energy to move it. And that is the people. If the people said, no, we won't, you wouldn't have wars. You wouldn't have massacres. You wouldn't have desperation. You wouldn't have any of these things. But this is how communism fails, how socialism fails, how fascism fails, how democracies fail. Because of the mob. It's either hyper or it's stagnant. There's no middle ground. They can't say some of this, some of that. Little of this, little of that. Not enough of this, not enough of that. You see, they don't do that. When shit starts going south, the people who are passionate pick sides, and the rest in the middle are just saying, I don't give a damn what happens. I'm just keeping my head down, and I'll find out, I'll go which way the wind blows as soon as it does it. Most revolutions only have 3 to 15% of participation of the entire populace. We're talking about the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Spanish Revolution, the Weimar Republic, and the Cultural Revolution you have now. Most people will go, that's just the way it is. They won't argue one way or the other. They'll just go with the flow. I tell the story about this a miniseries I watched about called Peter the Great with Maximilian Snell. And for you people on YouTube, I think you can see it. But when young Peter is almost killed by his sister who wants power. And after the failed attempt, a stable boy saved his life. And he goes and finds the stable boy. And he tells him, when I become Tsar, and the stable boy goes, Sire, may I tell you to talk to you with the truth? Certainly. People don't care. The average Russian don't care. They want a bottle of vodka, a loaf of black bread, and a woman to keep them warm at night. That's all they care about. They don't care who's in power. As long as they have that, their needs are met that way, they don't care. And that's where we are now.